Hello. Okay. Whoa. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. Hold on. Fixing that. The audio should be louder. It's so like you're so close to me. My neck hurts from doing streams with headphones. So I'm like, ugh, it hurts. But whole math. The legendary. I put his channel in the description below just because if I put in the title, it wasn't ranking that well. Is he canceled or something? He do something? Oh math. I've seen a lot of his stuff on TikTok actually, but some of you guys have asked me to react to this specific video, Levels of Thinking. And I think we actually did. Or we were going to. I feel like we might have. But I was probably unmedicated. So I don't remember. I think Shane sent it. And if it wasn't Shane, it was somebody else specifically. I just like can't. You okay? This whole time I thought I was going crazy, entering maybe a psychosis. We're not. Why does this sound so funny? We're not. I'm normal. It's cool. It's just different thinking. So I watched this video again and I was like, holy shit, that's what I've been trying to say for a minute. Assuming that there we go, that we, I hate this fucking, assuming that we did cover it last year. I probably didn't comprehend it because I didn't adopt a full-on deterministic approach to anything. And now that I've been having so many really weird, I call it weird in the way that I understand weird at this moment. Like weird thoughts, but not unfounded. It's not going to make sense. Like I personally know what psychosis looks like, and I can promise you there's no negative emotions about it. Just frustration in trying to communicate it. So I was watching this video and I was like, oh no, we're getting up there. And I was like, it's not good to be at the top. I feel like people can meet some of these levels before, like everybody can get to the top level, but it's going to look different for everybody. So it might be hard to follow the video, but we'll see. We'll pause it. I'll try to give my interpretation of what I think he's trying to say, but from my perspective, super abstract thinking, but it's grounded in objective truth. If you're somebody that operates on feelings over facts, it's probably not going to make that much sense. But if you're somebody that can kind of detach from emotional, which is hard, honestly, me saying that, I don't even know how accurate that is. Because it requires a lot of self-awareness. Self-awareness goes beyond just knowing when you react certain ways. It's being able, when you can get to the place where you can understand that most people are operating on that level. And so when they say things to you, or you see the people, even people like betraying you, which sounds kind of funny, but you find out somebody said something like a smear campaign, but then trying to line up where that comes from, that's not going to make sense either. Sorry. But it was purposeful, but I know I'm not communicating it properly. There's just like different moments in life where I think you can become more aware, and self-awareness as somebody who has probably too much of it, like I don't have a syllabus, and I don't have it's gonna be different for everybody, but if I had to give a rubric? Jesus, bitch, get it together, okay? Doesn't matter how enlightened, how much you transcend, I'm still gonna struggle with the word. What was the one that I couldn't say yesterday? Perceive? I don't know. Where was it going? Rubric. So, fuck everything you know about being smart, or being not smart, and think more, how do I react in situations? When do situations get uncomfortable? And how can I operate and control those situations without trying? So, like, for me, there's a reason that I always will point out when I'm projecting. And if you haven't followed, it's purposeful, but like projection and most things in life, and this is going to sound so fucking hippie-ish, but most things have multiple definitions. It's just what way you're going to perceive it. So if you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you can get pretty far, but you'll end up you're going to go far beyond that. I do like to say though, I'm not somebody that likes the topics on Buddhism. It's not that I don't like it, it's that um for a while I've had like a disconnect from reality, which is going to sound like I literally was psychotic, but like that's not what I mean. And it's crazy because I'll come on here and spew some shit and just like, all right, take that with what you will. And I know it won't necessarily make sense to everybody, as with most language things. But if you watch the video I did yesterday on the MBTI test, pay attention to, if you watch it again, I encourage you to do it. Pay attention to how you react to it. Oh, this bitch is so stupid. How does she not know? There's multiple, like the easiest cheat code I could tell you is there's so many different ways that even something like I'm going to the gym entails. Like that sounds so fucking bizarre. Like that wasn't a good example, and I'm not good at like literal abstract whatever, but watch it back. Pay attention to how you respond to the questions, or like how my responses triggered you, if you will. And if you start to like say mean things, like, oh my god, so fucking stupid shit like that, because that's what I would do when I would watch shit. That's projection. So like my just to land that, bring it full circle, is there's a lot of different ways projection can show up. And so if you were to like tally up or write down all the times I said projection, you'd be like, why there? That's why. Projection's a really cool way to understand how we unconsciously put our negative feelings onto people and respond in that way. And when you start to realize that most people operate there, you start to realize it doesn't matter, but not in like a nihilistic way, in a enlightened way. Anyways, there was a part I want to share. It's just like it's only been a couple of hours. I kind of want to sit with it until, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I missed a couple things, but this is the first time I'm talking today, so forgive me. I would love to do a show after watching this. And I know I literally said the other day, I was like, it's just like, I don't, really wanna, like, go talk to anybody right now, and you'll understand when we watch the video, I'll point out exactly where I was. But now I'm like, "Oh, there are people that think this way." And that wow, what a good communicator. Like, it shocked me. I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta hit up Sartain. Get me this man's number." I went to his channel and clicked on the link tree, and it said he's, not doing collaborations or taking more clients. I guess he does coaching too. Um, but maybe he'll make an exception, because then I'll make an exception to what I said the other day. Um, or if you watch my channel and you're like, "Yeah, I'm right here too," we could do something, because I think it would be interesting. Anyways, I was saying something about hippies, like the consciousness thing. And whenever philosophers talk about consciousness, or even somebody like Sam Harris talks about consciousness, I know a lot of you guys are like, "Oh, you probably love Sam Harris." And I remember literally being like, "He bothers me." And I think a couple days ago on a video, I was mentioning dogma or ideological conversations. And I was like, Sam Harris is like one that, like, you would think he would just get it with determinism. And he's operating on that same level of projection, if you will. And so when he would talk about consciousness, it seemed irrelevant. It didn't seem like he shouldn't have been. He's brilliant, brilliant. But it was like, at least from my worldview, it's like he would get it and then miss it on that solution, which in this video, in the levels of thinking, uh, you'll understand more so solutions and stuff. Again, it's abstract, it's going to be philosophy, no negative emotion, so that's lit. Wait, there was one more thing I almost forgot. One more thing. One more thing. Oh, Jordan Peterson did a video a long time ago. It's one of his lectured videos, and he talks about highly intelligent highly intelligent individuals. I'll see if I can find that video as well. And um it- he went off into the creative types, and I think we can all point out somebody who is really highly intelligent, but when it gets to being creative, it's a little bit more difficult to find some, at least in my view, it's hard to find somebody who's creative and can think of solutions that haven't been done, or they could think of concepts in a different way. And some people are going to be like, "Oh, that's fucking crazy shit." But when you get it, you get it. Anyways, Jordan Peterson brings up how there's highly intelligent people. And until those highly intelligent people can get rid of the morality thing that I was talking about, blame and punishment, more specifically, duality, if you will, then we won't evolve. So Sam Harris is one of those, and it bothers me. Richard Dawkins is one of those, and it bothers me. It shouldn't, but it does. It bothers me in a way where it's like, there should be no excuses as to why you don't get it, you know? But yeah, to each their own. Um, there was another thing. When I've talked to other people, I feel like just randomly, recently, yeah, but I'm sure you recognize this when you watch any debate or something, or after debate. It's like people will always cope, if you will, by saying somebody's stupid. Um, and it blows my mind solely because, like, although there's stupid people, which I don't really like that word. Um, my opinion, intelligence is on a spectrum. But if you're somebody that feels like you don't really study well, or you don't find interest in anything, you test poorly or whatever, that doesn't mean that you're stupid. And I feel like I have to say that because there's a lot of content that makes it seem like you have to do something a certain way. There is a right way to think, but that comes with time, sometimes age, or more often than not age, but also experience. So, anyway, just thought I'd say that. But I also had a really funny comedian skit that I wanted to start out with, but it doesn't really go with it. Well, kind of. How can you tell that the bugs are gay? You're like, Tori, where are you going? We'll do that at the end. If you saw, or if you remember, I mentioned recently the comedian who is like, Jesus be looking cute on the cross or whatever. I found some of his videos and I thought it was funny. And I don't know, I think comedians are really good at thinking about objective truths in a abstract way. So, yeah, I think that's it. Let's go into it. It's a long ass intro. Okay, wait a minute. It's got to be, there we go. I know it's the first one, but it says basic version. Should we start there? Yeah, probably. Okay. That was loud.
So what the hell is this all about? This video is about levels of thinking. It is theoretical, which is fascinating, and it also has colorful jokes. I use this diagram a lot in my videos because it helps explain some of the wild things that people say and do. It's based on the work of several researchers. I'm trying to make it easier to read for a wider audience. This is my interpretation of a model of consciousness that I studied. It includes quadrants, levels, lines, states, and types. Today I'm talking about levels. I want to make a big, long video explaining each level in detail, but for now I'm just going to do this short version to get it out of the way and get the ball rolling. But before we get started, here are some misspelled vegetables because I'm told that it helps if I'm cute. Here's a cactus. So these levels are stages of psychological development. They have been studied by numerous researchers. Some of the most famous models come from Jean Piaget, here's a snapshot of his work, and Abraham Maslow, who had the hierarchy of needs. Everybody is born down here, and nearly everybody gets up to at least this stage by adulthood. There are many factors that determine how you will develop and when, including your surroundings, your choices, your culture, and the brain you were born with. These are the quadrants. They are different ways of looking at reality. In this case, this would be your mind, your brain, your culture, and your society. They all happen at the same time because the mind is the brain, and culture is a lot of minds, and society is what those minds do. I should also say that people are never really in a level. You just slowly develop the ability to think at higher levels as you gain experience, but we all use the lower levels every day. When you have to use the bathroom, for example, that's a level 1 process. It's not a complex style of thought, it's just a feeling or an urge. So some people make it up to higher stages, and some people never do. Most people on Earth spend most of their time in these 4 stages, and this one is only very common in modernized places. And it's the first stage where you can adopt a world-centered level of understanding, which means understanding how people think the way they do based on where they're from. Before that level, there are right and wrong ways of thinking, so you would either be doing it right or you're not, and then they would say you're either doing it right or you're not. After that, it's more like, well, maybe I would think that way if I was from there, or maybe I would be more like you if I lived your life. That's where global thinking begins. Speaking of global thinking, this is my first sponsored video. It's brought to you by Atlas VPN, which allows you to access all the stuff you like.
If you guys aren't following it, yeah, it'll make more sense once he starts to get into like 1, 2, and 3.
From all over the globe. It feels illegal, but it's not. With Atlas VPN, you can just go, sorry, I'm totally in America right now. It's like a tiny little embassy. Atlas has the best VPN deal on the market. With the Black Friday price cut, it is $1.70 a month with 6 months extra for free, which also feels illegal and is not. Check the video description for the link. Atlas VPN makes you
Gotta respect the ad. Okay, I'm gonna skip it though.
Steal your data. You want to keep your data, right? I do. You want better deals on shopping and subscriptions? You want to cover
I want this man to narrate my life is what I want. Okay, wait.
For free. 30-day money-back guarantee, protect your privacy, Other benefits, ridiculously low price. Click the link in the video description below. Limited time offer. I hope it's also a limited time that we stay in these lower levels of thinking. Let's talk about what they are and how they work and how to move on. Before I get started, I should say that higher does not always mean better. Some people watch my videos where I talk about my mistakes and they say, "Oh, you think you're at a high level? You sound like a jerk." But higher doesn't mean better person, it means more aware. So here's the lower level of awareness, seeing things. And then as you go higher in the levels of awareness, it becomes much more complex. You're seeing people, seeing almost into infinity. And so when I make mistakes in here, I usually know exactly why they're happening. I usually can say things like, I choose women who probably will not stick around. Why? Because I don't think I can support them anyway. Well, why does that matter? Well, usually most of them want a higher level of support that I can provide. And why does that matter? Well, it doesn't feel good when they leave because I can't support them. Okay, well, why do those feelings matter? Can you change it some other way? Can you get a better job or something? Well, I tried to do that. I'm doing the best that I can. Is there
If you're not following so far, I would summarize this part as being honest with yourself and not lying to yourself. So is it because it's like, oh, I don't even like those types of girls really either way. And it's like, well, are you you coping, or is it because you don't think you could? And it's like, well, I don't really have money right now. Are you working towards it? It's like, yeah, that's like kind of one way to do the exercise, I guess.
some way that you can change the way
I
you try to get
think.
money from the world? Well, I've already done everything I can here, and this kind of gets fuzzy. So, why am I spending time with the wrong woman? Comes back to this experience that I've had over and over and over again, and I haven't been able to fix. It's the ability to see through what's going on in your mind and also to see through similar levels of complexity in what's going on in the world around you. So, it's not about being good, it's about getting it. Moving up in the levels does not always make you more effective. In fact, this level is famous for making people into hippies. This is the point in development
Oh,
where you
I
begin
didn't.
to understand that everyone has their own way of seeing things. And so, who's to say what we should and should not do? This is an illustration of an interaction from each level. This girl is getting validation from a guy that she's not interested in. So she knows how to get the validation, and then she stands back and she can plan how to give less to get even more. And then she looks at that and asks, well, is that the right thing to do? Not really. But am I going to do it anyway in this circumstance because I think it would be better overall? So that's in order. Wanting something, knowing how to get it from someone, knowing how to control the interaction, knowing whether that's right or wrong according to the rules that you live by, and then becoming the author of your own sense of right and wrong. And then when you take another step back to this hippie level, it's like, well, who is anyone to judge my choices? My choices are right for me, and so there isn't really such a thing as right and wrong. It's just what works for me. That's why they call that level the individualist. Different people go through the levels differently. And when I went through this one, it really stressed me out. I felt like I couldn't get my feet on the ground. I saw so many different ways of seeing the world, so many different philosophies, so many different life choices.
So this was me when I realized that my family member, that I wasn't 100% sure if like the things my family member would write excessively, obsessively about their delusions actually meant what was written down. So there would be a lot of like anti-Semitic stuff. And it's like, where the fuck did that come from? I'm just giving you guys like another way to look at it. Forgive me. But I went through, how I say I went through like a shit ton of moral dilemmas based on this. It's like going 3, 4, 5, 6 within the course of like a year. So trying to figure out if so and so and I were communicating, why are they only answering yes when I ask them questions that require like something that isn't yes or no, Oh, tell me, are you going to go to that concert? What are you wearing? Or no, what are you wearing to the concert? Because I'm trying to find an outfit. Yes. What? So it's like realizing there's like a communication. And I'm like, well, maybe they have voices yelling at them that I can't see. So I would keep repeating it. And eventually it's almost like they snapped out of it and they're just like, oh, I don't know yet. And I was like, does that mean the same thing? Okay. And then when I would get them into like a 5-150, and I would like desperately ask nurses for questions and answers, and even talking to the cops, like when is it technically, like, when are they technically a danger to themselves or others? And it's like, well, you should always put them in jail if they attack you. And I'm like, really? Even if I know for a fact they're mentally ill? And they're like, and you start to pick up on the law isn't really the law, and we can kind of recognize that there's certain situations that should be handled differently, but when it comes down to like protecting somebody with full autonomy themselves, or protecting the family or those around them, it's like there's no right way to do it. There really is no guideline, which means there's probably a faulty or a gap in our morality. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And it's like, we're not as consistent as we think we are. So it's one way. But yeah, okay, we'll keep going.
And I didn't know how to pick one. And if I can't pick one, then I can't get anywhere. So I would say, I don't know what to do. And people would say, just pick something. And I would say, how do I know what to pick? And they would go, pick something you like. And I would go, how do I know what I like? So I really like to plan things out. I like certainty. But at this level, you realize that you're never going to know what happens until you try it. So it goes what I see, what you see, what works for me, what works for us. And then, hey, look, those people have a different thing that works for them. That's level 5, when you can say, okay, I'm like this because I'm from here, and you're like that because you're from there. And then at level 6, it's like, well, where I'm from is really just myself. Everybody is just from their self. And so, how can one self have an idea that's better than any other self? Whereas at an earlier level, you might be able to say something like, well, my dad was an accountant, and so I'm an accountant. That's just what we do, and you don't have to deal with any of this uncertainty. So, higher is more complex, but complex is not always good. The way I explain it is that you can have a really good shoe or a really bad car, and I think what I have is a sinking cruise ship. So, if
Like literally, you're in a space where your opinion on how to solve the solution seems like the right one, but you can pick up on many situations that maybe it wouldn't be the right one. And then you're like, I can't know for sure what is in somebody else's head. Even when we're like normal, homeostasis, your friend, you really can't know. But then there's another element, and that's that removal of capacity. So for me, I never thought I'd say this, but going through that whole experience, which was absolutely tragic, it really gave me, I feel like, an accelerated level on questioning consciousness. It's like, I can't know for sure if they're suffering. I remember asking that question, like, are they suffering? Are they aware of the fact that they're not aware of their behavior or the illness? Do they think back on how they used to be prior to psychosis? Like, that hurts me thinking about it. It makes me sad. And I remember psychiatrist that I had asked, like a family neighbor, whatever, they were like, no, they don't know. And I remember being like, but how do you know for sure? Because in other moments, even when they were spewing crazy shit, crazy, like crazy fucking shit out of nowhere, they'd be like, do you remember when we were kids and we went on our bikes going to, and I don't know, they would just give a memory. And I'm like, fuck, they do have the ability to like reflect. That kills me more. So now that I know that maybe they do, how can I even put it together if they still don't know they're sick? Oh, it is okay.
higher is not always better, then why should we grow? Well, because higher is usually better. If everyone was at these lower levels, we would not be able to have grocery stores and electricity. We have a complex world, and it requires complex thinking. And some problems cannot be solved at the level they came from. Everybody watching this is going to have a different fingerprint of development. That means that your different lines or capacities, or the ways that you use your intelligence, are all going to be developed to different levels. It's possible to be.
Oh my God, I see this in the chat, and this is what I was going to say. Okay, Lazy Eye says it's like being on a really, really bad acid trip. Okay, the thing that I was hesitant about saying is because it's like referencing drugs. So I personally have not done ketamine. However, there's a new treatment for depression, a new radical treatment that's supposed to help with treatment resistant depression, and it's the like they it's ketamine infusion therapy. So what it is like taken something that we know as like a street drug, but it's not a street drug. It's in its pure form. They even give it to you in hospitals for pain and stuff. Like it's pretty widely used. But I remember like different people telling me exactly what their trips were like when they would trip on ketamine. And then I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm going to get over this hump of disconnect that I've been talking about recently. And I'm like, maybe this depression is really just untreatable. Maybe I should try that. And I'm like, I was thinking to myself, like this really sucks, whatever. And I kind of just like thought about it. I was like, it's fine. We'll move on. And then I was like, I wonder what parts of the brain that it promotes neuroplasticity. By the way, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. This is just literally recounting my morning. I was like, oh, it's the singular cortex. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's also that. Oh, and that's how it promotes this. But does shrooms do that? And then I was like, interesting. Oh, how it would be a privilege to be able to activate that myself. Oh, well, out of sight, out of mind. Didn't think about it again. And then during the day, I noticed that I wasn't stressed out. And then I had like a light bulb moment of like technically another level. And then I was like, wait a minute. Did I just because I had like vision sounds weird. I had like flashbacks, just like, it's like a camera of moments of myself before I had PTSD. And I was like, at this point, I wonder if I should go into that treatment. And I was flashing through like my life in the same way somebody who's actually done ketamine, what their trip would look like. And I'm just like, whoa. After later, I'm like, wait a minute, did I just do that without ketamine? Which sounds fucking bizarre. It sounds bizarre. But I thought, I was like, okay, we should probably do a video on this. Maybe I'm getting somewhere.
Very lopsided. For example, you could have your cognitive line all the way up at 9, but your moral line all the way down at 3. You could also be higher up than another person overall, but they're still way better than you at a particular thing. For example, this could be somebody who really understands history and politics to a high degree but has low empathy, and this would be someone who kind of gets it but is great with people. So as I go through them one by one, try to remember where you went through them and what that felt like and where you think you are now. Okay, level 1. I call this survive because it's just basic moment to moment. What do I need? Do I need food? Do I need sleep? It's just my own feelings, and there's no such thing as someone else's mind. If we were living in this level, we would be in small survival bands, and we would not be thinking much about each other's thoughts. We would be doing what we must in order to survive. Level 2, I called connect, because now you can think about what is in someone else's mind. What does this person want or need? Primitive people at this level will sometimes do rain dances.
I feel like my audio is kind of weird, so give me a second. I kind of want to just unplug it and then plug it back in. Hold your ears.
Or throw virgins in a volcano. I'm not sure if that's real, but it's the kind of thing you would expect to see. Because at level 2, you're realizing, okay, I have a mind and I need things, and other people have minds and they need things. So maybe it's not raining because we haven't pleased someone in the sky. Maybe the volcano is angry because it wants something. And what do I want? Virgins. So level 2 is all about what I do affects what other people think about me and what they do for me. Basically, like this. If we were living at level 2, we would be in small tribal groups, and we would be focused on safety and security and maintaining functional habits and dependable practices, just day to day. Level 3, I called control. This level is still very popular in modern society. So at level 1, I have a mind with feelings and needs, and at level 2, I know that other people have minds with feelings and needs, and sometimes maybe I think of volcanoes.
I know. Hold on. It's still going in and out. Give me 1 second. Okay. Oh no. I'll let it keep playing at least.
Does too. And at level 3, now I know that other people are aware that other people are aware that they have feelings and needs. So I know that these people have a relationship to each other the same way that I have a relationship to this and to this and to this and to this. Now I know he has a relationship to her. So instead of just direct connections, this creates social situations. Here is a woman seeing man bad on her phone, and then she sees the man in her life and goes, oh, wait a minute. If man bad, then maybe that man bad. And then at level 3, you would step back and say, well, what do I do about this situation? Why is he being bad, and what can I do about this relationship? If we were living at this level, we would be living in something like the Roman Empire, a mythic, feudal, and exploitative empire. You see this level a lot in things like the mafia and in sports teams, firemen, police, military. So even though these levels 2 and 3 involve thinking about thinking, it's mostly just for the purpose of getting what you want and having power over others. Level 4 I called belong because the primary drive is to fit in, and that drive is motivated by what they call second person perspective. So again, at level 1, you have your own feelings, urges, and needs. At level 2, you see those of others and you can react to them, but it's still all about what those feelings mean to you. And at level 3, you understand that you're in a complex social web of relationships and you can react to those relationships and exert control over your situation. And at level 4, that's when you realize everyone is in their own situation. That's where we get the classic folk wisdom of don't judge somebody until you've walked a mile in his shoes. You are in this situation over here, but imagine if you were him in this situation over here. Maybe you would have done what he did too. That doesn't come online until you get the second person perspective at level 4. When level 4 was brand new, it was basically medieval empires. It says mythic empires here, nation states. Basically, large groups of people that lived by a set of rules that they shared, as opposed to the do what you want mentality of level 3. Level 4 focuses on good versus evil. The entry to that level is called the diplomat because of the way that they focus on acceptable behavior and social norms. That's their way of getting over the problems from the previous stage. You can tell when second person perspective is coming online in children because they start looking in the mirror more. They start to realize, oh, I have other people looking at me the way that I look at other people and I have feelings about them. They're looking at me and having feelings about me. So I better be up to their expectations. Level 4 is the beginning of what we traditionally refer to as morality. Here again is the woman seeing man bad on her phone, and then she feels like, well, maybe this man is bad because my phone said so. She's projecting that onto him, having a negative experience, and then deciding what to do about it. I'm going to break up with this guy. He must be bad because I felt like it was true when I saw it on my phone. And then out here, she takes a step back and looks at herself as if she is a second person, which is why they call it second person perspective, and thinks, is that the right thing to do? This is the first point where it becomes obvious that consciousness is important, because a lot of people see things on their phones or on TV, and it gives them a feeling, and then they see that feeling coming from others, and then they do something about that relationship. So they might begin treating somebody poorly because they saw something on their phone that made them feel like, well, if that's happening here, it must be happening here too. And it's not until you slow down enough to get to level 4 that you can take a step back and ask yourself, is this a valuable process? The way that level 4 typically functions is through conformity and agreement. I believe this is the wrong way to behave. I believe this is the wrong way to behave. Agreeing on what's right and wrong and creating a set of rules and following them can solve some of these earlier problems, but also there are an infinite number of ways to decide what is right and wrong. You can have this set of rules over here or this set of rules over here, and that's where level 5 comes in. Level 5 introduces objective observation as a value. Basically, okay, you guys think ABC is right, and you guys think XYZ is right. Well, let's figure out which one is better. And in order to do that, you have to take another step back into a third person perspective. So, again, the first three levels are all about me. And then level 4 is if I was another person in my culture, how would I view my behavior? And then level 5 is another step back. If I was an alien or a stranger, how would I view my culture? This also enables you to view other cultures and sets of social norms. That's why it's global. It's the first time that you can go, oh, I get why they're like that, because they're from somewhere else. Level 5 has only really been around for a few hundred years, and it is basically where we get science and the assembly line and other forms of modern conveniences. Level 6 is where things get really fun. You might remember how it went for me. Level 5 is into objective observation, but level 6 recognizes the role of the perceiver. A different perceiver is going to equal a different perception. That brings in the fourth person perspective. So down at 1, you have me and my needs, the way I relate to others, and the way I get my way in my social situation. And then you take a step back. What does my behavior look to others around me? And what rules do we make about that? And then another step back. What would our set of rules look like to a different group of people? And then level 6, you step back again, and well, the way that you are looking is going to determine what it looks like. So when you look here, you'll see one thing, and when you look here, you'll see another thing, and when you look here, you'll see a third thing, because of who you are and where you came from. So there isn't really any way to objectively observe. Not being able to objectively observe can feel weird. Level 6 is very new. There were a few philosophers talking at that level in the 18.
Is the audio better yet? I cannot hear that music. Which means I feel like it's not connected. Background noise. Sorry, guys. It did that yesterday. I hope I didn't do this wrong. Hold on. I know exactly what it is, but it's difficult for me to do this without a pair of vice grips. Actually. No, I need... I was like, I have these. Okay. As long as you guys are good. Press play.
1800s, but it didn't really show up in mainstream society until 1960s America. So, because the way that you're looking determines what you're going to see, that means there are multiple perspectives that are valid because we all have a unique personal subjective reality that's not observable to others. Basically, how do I know that the red that I see is the same as the red that you see? Maybe my red is your green. From the fourth person perspective, there's no way to know. Level 6 is a really good example of why higher development is not always necessarily better. It is a very high degree of moral development, recognizing the validity of everyone's perspective, but let's say, for example, that there's a problem going on down here. Let's say that this guy did something that is considered morally wrong in this culture. But wait a minute, he says, that's how we do it where I'm from. So when level 6 goes crazy, they start saying things like, we can't make this guy follow these rules just because he's here. He has these rules where he's from. And who are you to judge which set of rules is better? We should recognize everybody's unique perspective. And that can and often does give people the idea, I guess I can just do whatever I want because who are you to judge? That's why we have problems like this. And yeah, some of these people are unfortunate, and that's sad, but some of them are just doing whatever they want, and we now have laws that don't distinguish between them because who are you to judge? So at this point, there is this white break in the chart, and that's because we are moving up to second tier consciousness. And what that means is that level 7 is the first level that can understand and include all the previous ones. At level 6, they still insist that they're correct and no one else is. For example, at level 4, you might have a Christian church and a Muslim mosque next door arguing over who has the true faith. But at level 6, we can all get along, we just need more understanding, when that's not what either of those groups wants. So even if level 6 says that they're about equality, they're saying we all need to be equal even if we don't want to. And it's not until level 7 that we understand how to actually give each previous level what it wants to have so that they can live in harmony. At level 7, this fourth person perspective gets expanded through time, which creates awareness of the self as a history of your own experience. At level 6, everyone has their own view, and so who's to say who's right and who's wrong? But at level 7, you take yet another step back and you realize that that unique view didn't come from nowhere, it developed over time, and everybody else is developing over time. So at level 6, because we are all the same, everybody belongs wherever. But at level 7, since we know we all change over time, people belong where they fit the best. So, for example, does this behavior fit here? If not, then it has to go where it belongs. And if it does, then we can all learn something new from it. That's why I called it Harmonize, because it's no longer about radical inclusiveness, it's about recognizing interrelated systems and how they are either synergistic or clashing. Radical relativism and radical inclusiveness, they sound nice, but they do create a lot of clashing. People who are at level 7 tend to naturally recognize development without studying this chart or any of the stuff it came from, and it's pretty
Right.
fun to see. I asked one of my life coaching clients a question, and he said, well, a little while ago, I would have answered it like this. And before then, I would have even answered it like that. And maybe a few years ago, I would have answered it like this. But now, and so he told me all about his development through the levels as his answer to the question. As far as I know, there is not yet any large collection of people at level 7. You can find a lot of these people in San Francisco, and you can find a lot of these people in New York, and you can find a lot of these people in Alabama, and so on. So let me know if you think that you're up at this level. I'm trying to build a time army so we can all get together and work on all this from up here. And I'm not really sure if these numbers are accurate. I get more confident the lower it goes, but I know I enjoy meeting them because their ability to naturally balance and synergize things and put everything where it belongs means that they're going to be instrumental in solving a lot of the problems caused by the previous levels. The levels get more difficult to explain the higher they go. You may have noticed there's a lot of words here. And level 8 is pretty rare. I don't meet a lot of people who are stably at it, and even when I do, I don't think they spend a lot of their time there. So level 8 appears when you take another step back from this, and we are now witnessing ourselves change over time in the moment. As you behave, as you think and feel, new parts of you emerge from the ether. That's what it means to be construct aware. It means that you're watching your own mind construct itself as you go. So at level
That's
8,
me.
you can see all these different parts of yourself kind of coming out to play. For example, you could look at an image of a donut or a donut sitting on a plate, and you can go, I'm feeling many things right now. I'm feeling hunger for the donut because it's good, but I'm also feeling a sense of guilt from one time that I ate a whole box of donuts that were not meant for me. And then some
This was literally me the other day when I was giving the scenario of I know that the solution is to have a world that is deterministic, that we're operating on compassion and evidence. But I understand why somebody far left, if you will, I really shouldn't say that because we're all on a continuum, but it's like I understand their experience and they don't want X, Y, and Z. And now I feel guilty. Remember, how I was like, it was like a lot to take in. That's like being on panels. It's like taking in and feeling all of those perspectives and trying to make sure that it's the right thing. Remember how I don't know if operating deterministically is the right answer, but I'm going to operate like it is and see what comes. And then boom, boom, boom. Okay.
somebody gave me social punishment and shame for that, and I also got a stomach ache because I ate too many. I'm recalling that memory as I look at this, and it's
Like that felt really bad. And I'm recalling it when I made that video.
influencing what I want to do. So now that I'm aware of all that going on in me, do I want to listen to it or not? Do I want to be the kind of person
Ah,
who just has a donut anyway because I'm an adult and I can do what I want?
it's literally like now that I understand why everybody's perspective was the right thing in the way that they view right. It's like now this is yucky. Should I just go back to operating just on my own fundamental level? And is that going to keep me ignorant? Because now that I know the objective truth, that would be a choice, if it's a choice at all. And that wouldn't be operating with compassion and evidence. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'd have to disregard that. And that doesn't feel good because I don't want anybody to feel like they're left behind, you know? Oh, oh,
And it might sound silly when you're talking about donuts, but imagine that this is something like global politics or even an interpersonal relationship. Like, yeah, I saw this on my phone and it gave me a feeling, and I'm aware of where that feeling is in myself, and I'm aware that I'm projecting it onto this person, and I'm aware of my impulse
my video
for
the
what I
other
should
day.
do about it, and I'm aware of what my culture says I should do about it. And then all of that is wrapped up in objective observation and the story of who I am and how I got here over time and how I'm viewing the event because of my
Oh, I was like, when I went to the Netherlands, it was finally like, I can see that in other parts of the world globally, that this concept that I'm thinking of has been implemented. And look at how well it did. But if I try to implement that in America with all those different perspectives, how is that going to work? And then thinking about it, from thinking about it to thinking about it. And I'm just like, but if they did it, we can do it. But how do I convince everybody? Fuck.
personal history. Do you see how that gives you a lot more power to change your behavior in situations like this? Imagine if more people could see something and then see their own reaction to it instead of just reacting, and then know where that reaction comes from in terms of their history and their culture. Think how much more power that would give us not to just react in the moment. That's why you should be thinking about thinking. Anyway, level 9.
And now I'm at the point, and it's only been like 2 days. Now I'm at the point where it's like, I probably could I could probably sit in on the panels now that I know all that I know from what I knew and not absorb it, which is bad to say, or not get mad that we're not doing it a specific way. So it's freeing in a way. It's literally the only thing I can think of. It's like freedom. Because when you're stuck a little bit before, you understand that their concept of freedom is on a binary, and like my freedom, which I'm not necessarily saying I'm right. I'm just going to operate like it is and see what comes from it objectively. It's like, I know that it will actually be freedom. I don't know. In the same way that you do a certain trip and you have like a glow about it afterwards, or you have sex with somebody you love and the morning of, like, there's like a glow. It's kind of like it's peace, it's freedom. I don't know. Just abstract.
Is very hard to describe. I do think that I spend some time up at this level, and the way that it feels to me is like all I'm doing ever is watching and wishing, and that's all I've ever been doing. At these first 3 levels, you are the main character, and at level 4, you understand everyone is their own main character. And then you understand that everyone's watching a different show because everyone is a different show, and that show is constantly evolving and changing over time. And at level 8, you're just watching the show happen. You're not even identified with being the show anymore. You're just watching yourself be.
Literally, I talked about this concept specifically casually in a live stream uh months ago. Maybe if you guys caught it, I don't remember. I can't remember if it was a popular one. And I was just talking about like my experience and weird thoughts. And I was like, I remember vividly having a dream when I had to be under the age of 5, um, because it was right before it was right before we were moving, and then having it again in the new house. It was like it had to be like within a weekend. And I remember seeing the world, and the best way I can describe it is like planet Earth, which is what we are already on, even though it's like when you zoom out, huge, right? But it's like seeing it play on a TV. like we're all in a movie, which is also kind of funny. Oh, my audio's bad. It's like it's almost like all of this is how we view television. That sounds so bizarre because I know that when my mom developed dementia, she kept saying, "Are we in a movie?" And so it's like when the mind breaks down in the other direction, you know what I mean? But I remember having this realization at the age of 4 that it's like a different perceptual feeling. I can't explain it, but it stuck with me for a really long time. I still remember it, but I don't remember the feelings around it. I remember the feeling being like, whoa, like when you have the realization that it's like one of those stomach drops. I can't explain it. Like when you go down a roller coaster and then I'm like, wait, if I think too far in there, I'm going to get uncomfortable. It's like kind of uncomfortable, but because nobody talks about it. I don't know. It was like weird. It's like, have I been this way forever?
So when my mind is up here, it's like, okay, I'm seeing myself, seeing my history and where I came from and what I'm like and what I do, which is made of all this stuff, all the memories and habits from the lower levels. I'm
Oh, and I believe this it sounds like the end of an ayahuasca trip or like when you see the timeline of your life. I
watching
don't know.
myself, observing my emergence over time, interacting with the present moment. I know where I'm from and what that has made me like, and I know what's happening now, and I'm watching them come together, and I'm looking at myself, looking at that. And so how you do the looking is what's important at this level. It's like, what are you looking at? I think you need to be looking at this part right now. I think you need to be looking at this function in your life. Maybe you're looking from here when you should be looking from here. So
Literally today, I was like going through this whole thing, no drugs. And what a healing experience. But I was like, am I looking at it from the wrong view? And so I looked at it, zoomed out. I don't know how else to explain it. Zoomed out like as if like I'm standing over myself when I'm asleep. And it was like connected, like a connected feeling, which I've been very disconnected. And it was like, you're home. You got this. I don't know how to explain it. Okay. Sorry.
it's like what I'm watching is watching itself. And again, here you would be watching your personal needs, and here you would be watching the reactions of others, and here you would be watching your situation that you're in, and here you would be watching what others expect from you, and here you would be watching observable reality, and here you'd be watching where you're from to know how you interpret things, and here you'd be watching what are all your habits and pieces of you put together, and how are they interpreting your reality, and here you'd be watching those habits and pieces coming together in the moment.
Think of it like I've read people talk about their trips and they go, I learned I could see why I was behaving or coping with trauma that I had and why I developed substance abuse or why I developed um, sleeping around with women or why I started smoking cigarettes and was uh, trying to not relive pain. And over a certain amount of time, you convince yourself that it was your choice. And then realizing that you're good now. Like you come home, you're fine. And it's like having a peace with your past decisions on what people view as right and wrong and how you know it stems from pain and feeling outcasted a little bit. I don't know if that really helped at all.
moment and sometimes being
Yeah.
surprised by what they do. And then here I feel a responsibility for knowing where to watch those things, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's
Do I judge myself for the things I was doing that were bad, or do I show compassion and view it from like your as if you were a mother to a child or something? I don't know if I'm helping, but I feel like I am.
this chart and how it works, the levels part of it anyway. The rest of it I'll get into another time. And if you
Yes.
want to move up the levels, the best
Yes.
way to do that is just sit with your thoughts and think about them and figure out where they come from. Here's another example of what
Mhm.
that looks like. So sometimes I worry that my little scribbly drawings are kind of embarrassing to show to 200,000 people. So why am I feeling the embarrassment? Well, I guess I'm worried that it's going to have some kind of a negative impact on me. What
Oh,
kind of
wait,
negative impact would it have? Well, I guess would not
I
like
can
my
spell
channel
tomorrow.
or might say some bad things about me because I don't have more sophisticated graphic processes. Well, why would it be so bad if that happened? Well, then I might lose out on opportunities that I could otherwise have if I had better looking graphics. Well, how do you know you would lose out on those opportunities? That's a good question because so far I've been doing pretty good with my scribbly whatever this is. So
I know it cut out. I don't know why it was removed from the screen, but let me move back. Essentially, it's like, why do you put limitations on yourself? And we hear it all the time. Fear of what people will think and all these other elements that when you realize most people are focused on themselves and their main character and how they're kind of just operating on projection themselves and that nobody actually cares and you actually are free to operate without choice. And I don't know if that matters, but it goes into the concept of why I say there is no free will. We just develop these constructs or these binaries in order to keep us safe. But you were safe all along. You were never broken to begin with. Beautiful.
So then, if you don't have any evidence that you're going to lose out on opportunities because you're doing this, then what's wrong with it? Okay, I guess problem solved. I can do this for now. And that's why I called this level complete. All right, I hope you enjoyed this
Now
presentation
it's
on
fine.
levels.
Let me see if I can rewind.
From here, when you
Why is it doing that? View tab. Kind of want to go through that last part again.
would not like my channel or might say
View tab on StreamYard.
some bad things about me because I don't have more sophisticated graphic processes.
Actually, I got an idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to download it. Maybe it's just the way it's coming through. It's permanently unavailable. Hush. YouTube download. Why? YouTube. There we go. I need to get a new mic. Ow. Got it. Hold on. It's so loud. Hold on. Video file. Actually, let me see if the music will play here now. No, it's not. Okay, it's my mic. Actually, you know what we'll do? I'm going to try to fix this setup because I cross-threaded something and I knew I was doing that and I panicked. I'm going to undo it and then reset it up because it's making it pop in and out, which you might not notice at first, but if you're wearing headphones, it's really uncomfortable. So we'll be back to talk in full length. Okay. Hopefully I didn't lose you. So BRB.